Have you heard about the terrorist group comprising those who hold a traditional view of wives as mothers and homemakers? Yeah, stay-home mums, parents, focusing on raising children. A woman who believes in marriage. They're called Tradwives. A woman who holds a belief that they personally do not lose anything by choosing to stay at home, and by doing so they can support their family needs better, including their children. A woman's choice, pro-choice and all that. But some people are very concerned about Tradwives. Even Jacinda Ardern's Christchurch call expressed concern about this terrorist group of women. And a couple of months ago, the New Zealand Herald really panicked about it. So much so that they even did a podcast on it. And for some light humour, in this episode, we're going to have a listen to a few bits of it. Yeah, so the media party, as I call them, are very concerned about the concept of Tradwives. So, look, here's just some examples from the past couple of years. The online trend of Tradwives, changing the meaning of feminism. Again, submissive wives have happy lives inside the Tradwife movement that wants to turn back time. Even Women's Day got involved, the dark side of Tradwives. Radio New Zealand, what a Tradwife on Married at First Sight tells us about a growing trend. Also on Radio New Zealand, from Tradwife to 4B, the ways we were told to be a woman in 2024. Also, the business of Tradwives and the growing Tradwife trend. Yeah, Radio New Zealand, your taxpayer funding is certainly going into a lot of coverage on Tradwives from the state broadcaster. But also the New Zealand Herald, top divorce lawyer, KC on Tradwives and the cost of ending a marriage. Also, with a Tradwife and Married at First Sight Australia, a nostalgic vision of womanhood takes centre stage. A harrowing memoir that Tradwife fans need to read. And I swapped my career for life as a traditional wife. Only for a week. And even AUT, Auckland University of Technology, had a special feature on it for their students. What is a Tradwife? These Tradwives are a major threat. But a couple of months ago, this very disturbing article in the New Zealand Herald, Rise of Tradwife Movement Reflects Youth Shift to Conservative Values. Now, at the time, I did mention the article, but I wasn't aware of the accompanying podcast. But let me just read you the intro. A few years ago, commentators and analysts often raised the idea of a youthquake. Young, first-time left-leaning voters coming in and shaking up the political landscape. In 2019, they talk about young people wanting to be on local councils, and it was after school strikes for climate and the rise of politicians, including Jacinda Ardern and the US's Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So, all good things. But recently, there has been a shift to more conservative views amongst our youngest voters. A yearning for the good old days has seen trends such as Tradwives and a return to traditional family values skyrocket online. Auckland University of Technology senior lecturer in communication studies, Christina Vogels, told the front page she's not surprised, but she's alarmed. And the article was filled with phrases such as growing trends towards conservative and the far right. The Tradwife movement, which dovetails with the far right women's movement. She's an ultra Tradwife. And the only thing that is a concern is what's happening with the far right movement. Okay, so as a special treat, we're going to have a listen to a couple of sections of this podcast from the New Zealand Herald and learn a little bit more about this terrorist group of Tradwives. So anyway, the interviewer starts off by talking about this new trend towards young men becoming more conservative. And is our resident expert from AUT surprised?
Surprised, but I am alarmed, I must admit. I'm not surprised because there has been this shift to a more far-right ideology through the Western world. And, people are talking about America being this post-democratic state at the moment. So we are seeing a very, very quick shift to this far right.
Oh, yes, far right etiology and a very, very quick shift to the far right. Apparently, America is post-democratic. Don't tell our resident expert, but the current president was duly elected democratically. I mean, even CNN admitted that. So it must be true, eh? I mean, if Kamala Harris had won, it would be democratic, but because Trump won, it's post-democratic. And by the way, etiology, have you heard that word before? It means, quote, the cause, set of causes or manners of causation of a disease or condition, end quote. So, conservatives and tradwives are now a disease. But the real concern is that women have this disease of conservatism, focusing on family life. And it continues.
What we are seeing at the moment is also it being complemented by a rise in young women taking on conservative gender roles. And we see this particularly through the tradwife movement, which dovetails with the far-right women's movement. And simply this is a return to this ultra state of femininity, which is completely subservient to men, as well as promoting white male privilege. It's an alarming trend at the moment.
This is very worrying. Far right women's movement, ultra status femininity, white male privilege. Oh, so it's only white tradwives or tradwives married to white men. I mean, can a non-white woman be a tradwife if she wants to focus on raising her children full time? Anyway, a bit more discussion. And remember, if you can mention Trump in a negative way, you get bonus points.
You mentioned the term tradwife, and that's been trending since about 2020. Hey, that's a traditional wife who stays at home while the man goes to work. You see them online making bread from scratch and doting over their kids. I mean, what's going on here, Christina? Why are we seeing this traditional lifestyle coming back, do you think?
I think there are a range of reasons, but I keep on coming back to this idea of ontological security. A very famous sociologist called Anthony Giddens first coined this term a few decades ago. And what he said was that when time is uncertain, when life seems to be confusing or problematic like it is today, we think about all the things that people are trying to deal with globally. We've got climate emergency, we've got a post-democratic Trump America, we've got the digital world, which seems to be almost going into a post-digital world with artificial intelligence. People are feeling a great sense of unease, which means that they want to return to an ontological security, which is a fancy word for a stable identity. We see this with people entering cults.
Oh, cults. Now, interestingly, according to Wikipedia, ontological security is a stable mental state derived from a sense of continuity in regard to the events in one's life. Stable mental state. Yep, sounds perfect. Anyway, we need to talk about this baking bread thingy because, I'm starting to feel a little bit peckish, aren't you?
Talked about, the idea of baking bread and mending clothes and tending to children. This is a very confined and simple identity for women to hold. And in a way, I can see why it makes sense. I'm a single mum. I work full time. On any given day, my identity changes. My sense of selfhood changes. And, we talk about this idea of the juggle of motherhood in the modern world. So I think what's happening for tradwives is that, or people that are supporting them online, is this kind of nostalgic sense of simplicity.
No, nostalgic. Simplicity. What could be worse? Now, just finally, our resident expert is hopeful that we'll all come out of this nightmare of families focusing on the needs of families and marriage and other nasty things like that. Now, Just a warning, there's a lot of binary talks about two genders and masculinity and femininity, etc. It's quite shocking, actually. Have a listen.
I am hopeful that we will come out of this. I say that because history tells us that. The only thing that is a concern is what's happening with the far-right movement, because what we're seeing in America is a new state of political play. This post-democratic America is something that we haven't seen before in the Western world in this space. So that in itself is concerning. So to be able to predict if this wave is going to, obviously go down and then we will return to a much more liberal gendered space, I'm not sure. But history tells us that we have to come out of this, that we have to then have the next wave of how we make sense of masculinity and femininity.
And how should we go about educating our kids on these kind of gender roles, the masculine, the feminine? Can we find a way to do that without, I suppose, ostracizing one gender or the other?
I think there are two things there. One, it is around having conversations about social media and what people are seeing on social media. Social media, obviously, in terms of the tradwife movement, has been huge. I mean, some of these tradwives have got millions and millions of followers.
Yes, millions and millions of followers. They don't actually discuss why it's becoming more and more popular. They just panic and hope that one day, very soon, the nightmare will end. But it's not just the New Zealand Herald that's panicking about this. Back in November 2023, Jacinda Ardern and the French President Emmanuel Macron held the latest meeting of the Christchurch call in Paris. And in a statement at the end of the Paris meeting, leaders welcomed a report on misogynistic pathways to radicalization, recommended measures for platforms to assess and mitigate online gender-based violence, which included the following statements. Structural gender inequality and gender norms can also lead to internalized misogyny. An extreme example is the emergence of Tradwives as an influential online community, showcasing the reinforcing elements of far-right ideology, Christian nationalism, white supremacy, and patriarchal gender norms. Tradwives embrace a highly heteronormative rendition of the wife and mother role, in opposition to feminism, reproductive rights, abortion, LGBTQIA+ rights, and gender equality. Researchers highlight that tradwives use their presence on social media to offer a powerful female in-group association and successfully infiltrated mainstream social media with their anti-globalist, anti-modern approach to life. While women's roles in violent extremist ideologies and communities varies, research finds that women-only forums have also served as gendered sites of ideological contestation, where women are asserting agency in their everyday practices despite otherwise constraining gendered ideological constructs. Golly, they don't seem to like women, do they? Somebody please call the Disinformation Project. Help! Oh wait, they've been shut down. Oh, they were shut down for peddling disinformation. But, you can't stop me. I've just got to play this clip from a documentary that you helped pay for about disinformation, featuring the Disinformation Project, telling us all that the real risk to the fabric of society is tradwives. Now, to the woman watching, please note, according to the experts, if you're a tradwife, white, Christian, into cooking with your children on Instagram or Pinterest, interior design, knitting, children's clothing, healthy food for children, then you're being drawn into white nationalist ideas. You are the problem. Have a watch.
Want to make jelly on a budget? Grab some lilac. You can draw people in lots of different places. And each of the platforms are used in different ways.
Hello, friends. As you can see, I'm working on my would-be bag.
What is known internationally as the kind of tradwife set of viewpoints,
Oh.
which is white, Christian, a lot of pseudo-Celtic, pseudo-Nordic ideologies behind it. They use Pinterest and Instagram to draw in other women who are interested in interior design, children's clothing, knitting, healthy food for children. And it does draw people in towards a set of white nationalist ideas. I mean, it's relatively easy to see. If you see a very beautiful, fair-skinned, blonde or red-haired child with beautiful braiding in her hair and some flowers, just step back a little bit.
Just step back. That is a classic. The tradwife movement is making a comeback. But you know why? It's because conservative values, getting married, going to church, surprise, surprise, makes you happy. Now, just one more thing before I go. To all the women watching, adult human females, you'll appreciate this research from 2 years ago. Conservative women are perceived as both prettier and happier than left-wing women. Well, at least according to artificial intelligence, AI. An AI model gave conservative women high attractiveness scores, according to a study published in the journal Scientific Reports, which is owned by Nature. Said, quote, "For females, though not males, high attractiveness scores were found amongst those the model identified as likely to be conservative. We also found that expressing happiness is associated with conservatism for both genders." And a 2022 survey found that conservative women are much more likely to be completely satisfied with their lives than liberal women. About 31% of conservative women aged 18 to 55 are completely satisfied with their lives. Only 16% of liberal women are, according to an American family survey from YouGovernment. Now, the survey also found that conservative women are 24% more likely to be happy with their family life as well. That's really going to blow the mind of the tradwife alarmists. Actually, I'm not sure which is more scary, climate alarmism or tradwives. But why are the left-wing media and cultural elite so threatened by women choosing to be full-time mums, to raise their children full-time, for women to be the managers of the home, and to be loving wives to their husbands, to be homemakers? Shouldn't women have the right to make a choice? I mean, the mantra is a right to choose, isn't it? Well, no choice when that decision reflects traditional biblical values of upholding and strengthening the nuclear family in parenting and marriage. No. We can't have that. That goes against the culture's promotion of abortion and radical sexuality and gender confusion. That's what the Christchurch call admitted was the basis of their opposition. So I would just say to all you tradwives out there, ignore them. If you want to be healthier, happier, and have a better mental health, become a social conservative. Better yet, live your life according to biblical morals and values. Your kids will love you for it.